Courtney, you can. All right. So welcome everyone to Improving Your Outlook. This is season 2, episode 1, and we are recording this. So just keep that in mind that we are doing that today. Now, during our series, we're going to have some guests join us in our various series pieces, and many of our topics that we're covering this year are topics that our audience asked for last year. And so our focus today is on tailoring your inbox. As I just mentioned, we're recording the session. You can watch it later if you would like to see it again. You are muted and we do have the chat turned off, but we are using the Q&A feature. So if you have a question, you can drop it in the Q&A. And I've got Courtney and Jared on the call with me, and they'll be watching that chat, and Jared may even answer some of those Q&As for us. And I also want to mention today, for those of you that are with us from the medicine side, we are using Office 365 version, and we're looking at the web app. And my understanding is y'all are on Microsoft Office 2016. And so some of the things that we're showing may be available on your version, but it might look a little bit different and probably could also be in a different place. So just be aware of that. So today we're going to be talking about what we're doing today. So our episodes are going to change in cadence. We're going to offer them once a month. They're still 30-minute bite-sized learning pieces. And again, we are recording these for your benefit. So we're going to look at the useful feature that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some features to help you tailor that experience in your inbox. We're going to talk about the why behind using these features. And then we're going to demonstrate those. We're going to talk about the how. So we want to come away with tools that help us reduce our stress and use our Outlook more efficiently. Now, let's take a look at a poll. So Courtney's going to launch a poll for me asking you this: do you have trouble finding related messages? Yes or no? So take a second and answer that poll. Okay, I got 2/3 of you. Give you a couple more seconds to respond to that poll. Do you have trouble finding related messages? Okay, so Courtney, if you could go ahead and share our results there. And I love this, that look at this. Over half of you responded that yes, you have trouble finding related messages. And so we want to stop sharing that poll, Courtney, and look at how we can do this better, right? How do we find that? And so what are we going to look at today? Normally, we're looking at just one particular thing, but we're going to look at 3 small things in your inbox that you can use to tailor that experience. So we're going to look at grouping conversations. So when I say grouping conversations, we're talking about, have you had an email conversation with someone that you can't find the conversation? In other words, there's messages further down, maybe a week or 2 back, and you know you read it, but where is it, right? Secondly, changing that layout. So changing your layout to be more effective for you. Do you prefer the more classic layout, that maybe you're more comfortable with that? So we're going to look at that. And then customizing your view. So selecting a view that determines how much of the message you see and what you see in that message. Now, these features are available for the desktop app, they're available in webmail, and they're available in the mobile app. So again, we're going to look at that in relation to the desktop app and the web app. So to demonstrate what we're talking about, I'm going to switch to Blaze's email account. So we're going to take a look at his information. So here you're looking at Blaze's desktop app account, and you'll see that we've got several options here. Now, normally you would be already on the Home tab. That would be where you would be, and we want to switch and go to the View tab. Once you're on your View tab, the first thing we want to look at is grouping those conversations. You'll see that here in the message group called Messages. And notice there's only one box available, Group as a Conversation. So if you check this box, it's going to then put any messages into a group. Now you're going to see this pop-up come up. It wants to know if you only want to do it to this particular folder, so to your inbox, or do you want it to apply to all of your folders? So I don't want to apply it to all. I just want to apply it to this folder. Once I do that, any message that was a back and forth conversation between you and someone else will end up with a little arrow in the left corner there, just next to your message. So you'll notice, apparently Jared's been writing Blaze. So if I point to that arrow on the left and click it, you will see it expands, and up underneath, you will see the string of messages between Jared and Blaze. Now, if I don't want to see that, I can click that arrow again and it collapses it. So it puts all those in one place, and I'm not having to scroll up and down looking for the messages. Now, another great thing here on the desktop app, if I click this drop down, notice I have options. I can tell it to show messages from other folders, which also means my sent folders. I can have it show the sender's name above the message line. I can have it to always expand those conversations as well. And I can tell it to use a classic indented view. So I have 4 options here that I can change. So that's one tool that can really change how you see things. Now we're going to look at the other features as well. So the next one I wanted us to see is your layout. So how your inbox looks. Now by default, you'll see here that I'm looking at just a string of messages. So 2 things here. You've got the folder pane. Now the default folder pane is to be on in what we call a normal view. I can minimize it, and notice over here on the left, it turns into a bar with my options. So I can come here and click, or I can completely turn that off. So if I turn it off, it goes away and it saves me some real estate. So why would I do something like this? If I'm using a smaller screen, maybe I'm working on my laptop screen where real estate's a premium. And so I can get rid of all of these extra things on the screen. Now, if I want to turn that back on, just go back and go to normal. It's going to come back up on the left. Now, your reading pane, the default is now considered to be what we call on the right, which means whatever message is selected here, it's going to show on the right side. So that's the new default. But if you're someone who prefers a classic view, you can place it on the bottom so that your preview of your message is on the bottom. Then some of us might be that person that knows that if I have a preview, I might scan the message and miss something important. So the other option is to completely turn the reading pane off, where you just have a string of messages, and then you have to actually open the message. Now, this brings me to one other feature, and that is my spacing. So notice in my string of messages here, I've got a good bit of white space around it. If I use tighter spacing, notice how it compacts that a little bit more. So again, on a smaller screen, that might be advantageous to us. So I'm going to expand that back where I have a little more white space. Then you have your to-do bar. Now, I've got the to-do bar turned on over here on the right, where you see my months and you see my tasks. If I click this option, notice I can turn all of it off. So it's gone. And again, gives me more real estate on a laptop. If I want to see the calendar, I can just have it on the right. I can have it show people and tasks as well. So I'm going to put my calendar and tasks over here. So that's a real simple thing that you can do to, again, customize the layout of your screen. Now, the third thing that we wanted to show you is the current view over here. So if I wanted to change the view that I'm seeing, and so what they're talking about when we say change view, it's how you see these columns. So from, subject, received, and just how it looks overall. So if I click this drop down, notice I've got it on single. So I'm going to switch to compact. Notice it shows my messages. I've got my preview. Then this view setting button right next to it is where you change how that view looks. So if I click that button, I'm going to get this dialog box where it shows the description of my columns and the order that they're in, how things are grouped. So notice it's stating that nothing's grouped. So I can edit any of these things. Now I want to tell you, if you change something and you don't like it, you can always revert back and reset the current view. So you can reset it back to the default. So don't panic if you think, oh, I'm going to mess something up. Now I'm going to cancel that and I'm going to change my view to single. Now notice it went back to single, and notice my view here is still showing that list where I changed my reading pane. So I'm going to change my reading pane where it's back to the bottom. Then the last thing in that view is preview. Now that turns off and on the preview. Notice it does the same thing that turning the reading pane view did when I turned it off. So I'm going to switch this back to single view and know that that is something you can change. Now in the web app, as we switch to the web app, I'm going to point out to you that those features that we're seeing here in this current view have been combined into some other features. Okay, so let's jump over to the web app and see the comparison. How is it the same and how is it different? Now, you'll notice when I come here, the toolbar for the view tab is a little different. There's not as much available to me. So my conversations, if I click that option, notice it's showing each message separately, but now I want to switch to grouping into conversations. Again, very similar. I end up with an arrow to the left of the message. So you'll see here where Laura Beth apparently was having a conversation with Blaze. And so if I click that arrow, it's going to show me the related messages where they've had a conversation back and forth. So it looks like they're planning to go to the basketball game and they're going to meet up. So I can see all of that threaded together. Now, another great thing that the web app does is notice it's giving me the messages in the preview underneath, but I don't see them. You have the ability to expand that conversation. If I click that option, notice it opens all of the related messages in that string. So I can see all of them expanded, or I can collapse it and not see them at all. Now, another option that they have in that preview is this message preview. Notice it says show preview text and hide preview text. If I hide the preview text, notice in my list here, I just lost the preview text. So I now just see who it's from and the subject line. If I go back to preview, it'll show me one line of the preview text. Now, next thing was your layout. So the layouts that we saw earlier, notice that in the layout group on the web app, they've put the ability to adjust the ribbon. So your toolbar, you can adjust that here. They've put that in this group. Your folder pane, notice it's show or hide, just like it was in the desktop app. So if I hide it, it goes away. So notice I don't have an option to have that little narrow bar there. So I can bring that back. Reading pane, I can show it on the bottom or the right. So again, if you're a person who prefers a classic view, you can do that. Now, density, that is the one that is a little different. So ours, we were showing that other view, but density here, they've got cozy, roomy, and compact. So roomy, notice it's going to give me a little more space, and it gave me the icons over here on the left. So if they have an image for their name, it will show up there. If I go back, I can compact it. And again, notice that gives me less white space and compacts that list. So again, if you're working in a laptop, this will give you more room to work. Now, I kind of like cozy because it's just enough. So we might say it's too hot, it's too cold, or it's just right. So choose your option that fits you best. Now, in replacement of that view option, what you can do is use the view settings here. Now, view settings, when you click that button, is going to give you a lot of options. And so I just want to kind of touch on a few of these. Notice over here, focused inbox. That's the one we did in December that Jared talked about. But if you scroll down, notice here, message organization. Now it's still on showing email group by conversation. But notice I have the ability, if I come into this view settings box, to change newest on top. I can put the newest on the bottom, or I can tell it to show messages separately. So I have a little more options here. I have more choices. Now, if I scroll on down, here's another thing about the messages is, do you want to see deleted items in your conversation? So let's say you had a conversation going on, you had deleted a message from someone. If this option is selected, when you look at it in conversation view, you will see also any messages that were part of that string or thread, as they may call it, and it will show the deleted items as well. Now, there are several other options. Notice my reading pane options are here. I have the ability to change my list format, so how you want your messages to be displayed. So those were those view options that we saw in the desktop app. So that's why I say they're in a little bit different place and have been combined. So I'm going to close this without making any changes and come back to our main screen. So within our main screen here, we have looked at some awesome tools. Again, I want to come back over here to conversations. And if I scroll down, you'll see one I had with Blaze last week. And if I click that, it will expand and show the messages. So notice it shows here's one that's from the sent items folder. And then these are the responses. Okay, so again, if one had come from a deleted items folder, it would say deleted items here. So coming back out of our screen, and we'll give you a chance in a few minutes to ask us some questions, and I'll show you some things we haven't touched on, is as a wrap-up, what can you do with your desktop? You can change your reading pane layout to fit your needs. So what is it that is most comfortable to you? How do you want to view it? On the side, on the bottom, or not at all? You can adjust what information you see on the screen, how much information you see, how compact it is, or how spaced it is. And then, of course, grouping those conversations for ease of reading. Now, notice as well, with grouped conversations, you can turn that on and off. So if you decide you don't want to see them grouped and you want to see all your messages in order, you can uncheck that box and turn it off. So we've looked at these at a high level because we want to stay within our 30-minute window and give you a chance to ask questions in the Q&A. And so I want to say our goal is to help you improve your Outlook. So one thing we've done for you, again this year, we're providing you with the printable guides. Courtney is going to drop that link in the chat, but you can also scan the QR code to access these. So these are printable guides that go over everything we showed you. Then we also have provided you with season 1 summary. We wanted to give you an opportunity to access this again. So last year's season, we had 11 episodes, we had 6 guest speakers, and we had over 5 hours of learning. And so this one sheet handout is available to you. It's got a link to the demo and a link to the guide for all 11 episodes. So check that out. And again, what were those episodes? Here on the screen, this is a link to those episodes if you want to go back and watch them. If you missed them, here they are. And so we had some great speakers that shared some great tools with you. And our next episode, February the 19th, we're going to talk about unleashing the power of an Outlook search. So still, maybe you can't find that message. Where is it? Where did it go? How can I find it? How can I be efficient? So come check out that episode. We're looking forward to it as well. So we want to say for technical assistance, you can reach out to UAB Information Technology or Ask IT. You can reach out to them at 65555 from your campus phone or at this web address. So if you need tech support on the campus side, on the medicine side, you will have to reach out to the medicine IT team. Now, we do want your feedback, and we're going to stay on the call to chat with you about things or to show you anything you want me to go back and review. But we do want your feedback. We want to hear from you. So if you could take a moment and scan this QR code, Courtney's also going to drop that link in the chat for you to click. We want to hear from you. If there's a topic you want us to cover that we haven't covered, tell us that. Tell us what we could do better and what you'd like to see. And so, again, I want to thank you for joining us today. Please feel free to hang out. We still have about 7 minutes to answer your questions and help you, and I can go back and show you anything you'd like to see. So thank you so much and welcome.
Awesome job, Allison. We did have a question come in that I think you may have covered, but maybe you can demo it for those that are wanting to stick around. On the grouping email by conversations, they're asking if there's a way to have it expand permanently rather than having to click to expand each time. Is there a setting in there so that it'll always expand those conversations?
Yeah, hang on just a second and I will jump back over here to Blaze's account. So
they didn't say whether they were webmail or desktop, so you may want to demo it in both.
Yeah, I'll show it in both. So since I'm on the web version here, you'll see expand conversation. So if I leave that clicked, then it's always going to expand that conversation. Okay, so the arrow will be pointing down and that leaves it on. So I can turn that on and off, okay, in the web version. So now let me switch back to his desktop. And where it's showing his conversations, here I can tell it to always expand the selected conversations. So now it will always show them expanded for me. So great questions. Thank you.
So thank you for answering that one. I do see a couple of questions specific to UABMC side and whether or not they'll get the updated version, if this feature is grayed out for them or things like that. It's hard for us to speak on that just because we don't have any admin side to the UAB. We don't have admin side on the campus side either. We partner with UAB IT. So we can't really speak to that. We encourage you to reach out to HSIS on that to see if there's any plans to update to the newest version of Outlook in the future. But I do know that this feature, at least for my wife that's on the HSF side, I did see that she had the group as conversations feature. So I think it's available to some on the web version at least. So thank you for your questions in regards to the UABMC side.
Okay, and I'm seeing here I see Ashley saying, what if the expanded conversation is blurred out? Until now, if you're on the desktop app, until you check show as conversations, so I'm going to uncheck it, that will be grayed out. Okay. Once you change your show as conversations and tell it only in that folder, then your conversation settings becomes available on the desktop app. Okay. Now, in the web version, again, conversations grouping or showing separately. If I show these separately, again, keep in mind, you can go into view settings and you can set that here as well. So I can come in and choose, how do I want to see it? Okay, so message organization, how do you want your messages to be organized? Show as a grouped conversation, and then I can tell it how I want to see it, newest on top or newest on bottom. And once you do that, you have to click save. And then notice again, now they're grouped. And if I want them always expanded, I can turn it on.
And I love how, Allison, I love how you shared out. To me, there's always, thank you for the feedback over the last season one. A lot of you said, I know about a lot of these features, but sometimes there's a nugget in there that I just didn't know. So I'd like to share just the nugget here that I thought was so useful for me and helping me find emails and things. And that is, when you group this conversation, there are some settings that you can configure that will allow, even if the email is deleted, for it to still show in that conversation. I can't tell you how many times how I was too quick to jump the gun and delete an email. And then when I'm looking back at a conversation, I'm missing a component. I'm missing a part of the conversation. And to me, this was just a useful. In the webmail version, it's right there in the settings that Allison was just in. You can go to view settings. And when you turn it on, you can say include deleted emails. And that way, in that conversation, you're not missing any of that context. And there's a way that's kind of hidden in the Outlook version that Allison found this as well. The app version, the desktop app, I think we can throw into the chat or show. But to me, this was the golden nugget for me, because I've been too click happy and deleted an email, and later on missing that context in a conversation. So if you wanted to share that, Allison, in the chat, or
okay,
feel free to.
All right, let me get there. So give me half a second. Oops. Got to be in the right place, guys. All right. So I'm going to switch back to my account. So in the in the desktop version, excuse me, you actually have to kind of get there, if you will. So if you go up first and just click in search, so it brings up the search toolbar. Okay. That's the first big thing. Then once the search toolbar is up, you have the search tools option. Okay. So notice here, I have to click search tools. And then from there, I have to go down here to search options. Okay. Then in the search option, you'll see where it says include results, and I have the option to include messages from the deleted items folder. Okay. If that box is not checked, you will have to check it. Once you check it and turn it on, then deleted messages will show up in that grouped conversation list if you deleted it. But by default, this is not on. Okay, so just be aware that that's not there and it's not on, but you can turn it on, but they hid it from us. So if you want that on in the desktop app, that's where you go to get it. All right, so with that, we are at time. So I'm going to stop the share and